Welcome to this bidding and registration information session. Today I'll be going over what is bidding, how to be successful in bidding, expectations for communication from the program office around bidding and registration, inside the bidding system and how to use it, the rest of registration, so add drop, waiting list, special registrations, and overloading. And then next steps to think about as you plan out the courses you're going to bid for and to register for. So the basics of the bidding system. The bidding system is used for electives and ILEs only. The program office will take care of your core registration. You'll use a different process for your global business experience selection later in the program. There are usually two bidding rounds for each mod, so mark your calendar for all of those that apply to you, as seen on the OrgSync page bidding schedule, and also on your cohort calendars. The first rounds of bidding are limited by priority, so round 2 is for classes that still have seats available after round 1 and class years with lower priority. Some courses are limited by program, so for example, when there's a popular elective offered in the day and the evening will be limited to the EPs during bidding, and then that restriction will be lifted as of add drop, so that full-time students and evening program students can add the course if they'd like. These are marked on the course schedule. There are very, very few of them, but do pay attention to the ones that are marked in the course schedule. So bidding is really the first stage of registration. Add, drop, and waiting lists allow you to make final changes and adjustments. So don't feel that if you don't get the courses that you want during bidding, that you're completely out of luck. Add, drop, and waiting lists are a very viable way of getting into courses that you want. We'll talk about those a little later. So I want to bring to your attention the tools for success that the program office provides around bidding and registration. The program office provides you with resources you need to register successfully. So if you look at the registration page of OrgSync that you've been emailed, you can see where all of this information is located. There we have bidding information, session and schedule, semester course schedule by mod, the course descriptions and videos. Many of our faculty have taken the time to make kind of descriptive videos about their courses, so you can kind of get a little taste of the course beyond the course description. Bios of all of our faculty, and historical syllabi is available. The academic calendar, the anticipated MBA elective course offerings for fall and spring. So that's helpful in planning out what you might take each mod and semester. And then we also have historical bidding data. And then you can always, make an appointment with your advisor to discuss individual questions and course planning. Here's a little bit more on how you can expect to receive information on bidding and registration from the program office. Again, the OrgSync registration page that I was just talking about is really your first place to go and mode of information to check out. And then we will also be putting updates in the OrgSync class portal news feeds. So those will come into your feeds at the start and end of each bidding round as reminders. You will need to opt into those if you want to receive them as emails. You'll need to change your OrgSync settings if you do want to receive those as emails. We won't be sending any other emails regarding this beginning and end of each bidding round. So do opt into those in OrgSync if you want to receive those messages directly to your inbox. Otherwise, you can log in to OrgSync proactively and look at those reminders in the feed. The important dates are also listed and loaded into your cohort calendars. And of course, as I just said, you can see your advisor with any questions on the bidding system or course selection or anything around that. So before we get into the mechanics of the bidding system itself, I want to show you a couple of visuals of what bidding really means. Bidding is basically the school's way of measuring the strength of your preferences to get into specific electives and ILEs. The way that we measure this is through points. So you have 2,000 lifetime points, which I'll talk about a little bit more in just a second. But there are two kinds of classes for bidding. So the classes that fill during bidding and those that do not fill. Here we have a class that filled, meaning more than 50 people bid on it. So the highest 50 bidders were awarded a seat. The lowest successful bid, you see there circled in green, the 98, is the clearing price. So it's the lowest successful bid to get into the class. No matter what students bid individually, all the students there in green who got into the class were charged 98 points. And then in red, you see the students whose bids were too low to get into the class. So they didn't get in, they won't be registered, and they won't be charged any points. This is the other type of class during bidding, a class that has not filled to capacity. Fewer than 50 students submitted bids, so everyone who bid got into it and will be registered. This means that the clearing price that all students pay is just 1 point. Again, if a class doesn't fill, everyone is charged just 1 point. So now on to some of the mechanics of the system. So as I mentioned, you have 2,000 lifetime points to use throughout your MBA career for the bidding system. Unused points carry over from semester to semester. No new points are added at any time. There are no transferring of points between students. Points are not returned for dropped classes. So for classes that you may later drop during ad drop after bidding is over, points don't play into ad drop at all. So you're not given return points for any classes that you decide to drop later. And points are not used for the global business experience selection process. That's a completely different system. It's also important and helpful, I think, to note that consistently 2/3 of courses have open seats at the end of bidding. And for those, you only charged 1 point. So I want to emphasize that students should not worry about running out of points. We've actually never had in the history of bidding any students run out of points. So that's really nothing that you should worry about. Certainly be smart about your points and think about what you want to bid, what's fair to bid, but you should not worry about running out of points. Now on to some of the mechanics behind actually placing your bids. Students place bids in this system through My Access. We found that it's best to use Chrome, as some students have access issues with other browsers, so try to use Chrome if you can. The minimum bid is 1 point, and there's no maximum bid. But of course, the points you bid have to be within your available points. You can't bid the same number of points on 2 classes in a round, since the system needs to know your preference, even if it's just a 1 point difference. The system is aware of your maximum credit load, time conflicts, multiple sections, so bid on more courses than you need in order to increase your chances of getting a full schedule. The system handles multiple sections and time conflicts by looking at a student's preference, so whichever course you placed more bidding points for. At the start of subsequent rounds of bidding, so second rounds, it's important to look at the cost calculator and seating availability chart from the previous round, which is posted in the registration page of OrgSync. It's important to look at seating availability when bidding in round 2 for a few reasons. So some classes will have filled in the previous round, in round 1, so you can't get in the next round. Secondly, for classes that only have a few seats available after the previous round, You're more likely to be charged all of the points that you bid when bidding for them in round 2, since there are fewer seats available. And third, the chart also indicates clearing prices from round 1, just for your reference. So that's a good place to look for information when bidding in a second round, just to see what happened in the first round and how many seats are left. The way that the system awards seats is the next thing I'm going to explain to you about the mechanics of the process. Once all bids are in and a round closes, the system awards seats by sorting all bids for a class in descending order. The highest bidders are given seats up to the maximum class capacity. In a tie-break situation, the system selects randomly between multiple students who have entered the lowest successful bid for a course. Again, just like I showed in the clearing price visuals earlier, all students are awarded seats. All students who are awarded seats are charged the following. For a class that fills, they're charged the clearing price, or the lowest successful bid. For a class that does not fill, everyone is charged just 1 point. So again, just to emphasize, for classes that do not fill, so many of our classes do not fill, and for those, you're charged just 1 point. So again, this goes for about a third of MSB elective courses. So like I've said earlier, I want to emphasize again, don't worry too much about running out of points. Also, important to note that you are only charged points when you are actually registered and awarded a seat in a class. If you bid and do not get into a course, then you're not charged anything and you're not registered.